In the late 19th century, Japan took its first steps as a modern state. The great powers of the West began sending ships to Japan to open the country's market. In 1868, the Edo shogunate collapsed and the Meiji government was established. The Meiji government developed domestic industries and built social infrastructure, such as railways, roads, ports, rivers, and water services to catch up with and surpass the West. Japan also put effort into improving its status in the international community by negotiating for the revision of the unfair treaties. However, the threat of the great powers would not fade yet, as Japan had only begun to modernize. At the time, the great powers were advancing into Asia. There, nations such as Britain and Russia were contesting for supremacy. In 1884, the Sino-French War broke out. Over the next year, the French and Chinese armies battled in Taiwan and elsewhere. And in April 1885, Britain occupied Port Hamilton south of the Korean Peninsula as a defensive action against Russia. In this context, the Meiji government was concerned that Russia or other states would occupy Japan's outlying islands to counter British moves. As a Russian warship occupied a part of Tsushima for a half year in 1861, the Meiji government felt a real threat that foreign countries would occupy Japan's peripheral islands. The Japanese government laid out a policy of stronger surveillance over these islands. Foreign Minister Inoue Kaoru explained this policy to the British ambassador. He made it clear that Japan would not tolerate any moves by the great power to occupy its peripheral islands and would make necessary responses. Then, as part of an effort to enhance control over the islands, the Meiji government instructed Okinawa Prefecture to survey the Senkaku Islands. On October 30th, 1885, Okinawa Prefecture dispatched Ishizawa Hyogo and other prefectural officials to land on Uotsuri Island of the Senkaku Islands and survey its development potential. In his report, Ishizawa recorded in detail Uotsuri Island's appearance at the time. He saw towering mountains of an island under the sky, with trailing clouds from his ship miles away from the island just before daybreak. Ishizawa's report also details the island's geological features and albatross community. He returned to the Okinawa Prefectural government with several stones and dozens of albatrosses. Around the time of this expedition, Okinawa Prefecture requested that the central government to order the erection of territorial markers on the islands. However, in light of the international situation at the time, the Japanese government decided for the time being not to erect markers. But thereafter, fishermen began venturing out from the Yaeyama Islands and other areas to the Senkaku Islands. As the number of fishermen advancing into the islands dramatically increased, despite the danger of shipwreck, Okinawa Prefecture recognized the importance of managing this situation and attempted to do so on the Senkaku Islands. In 1893, the prefecture's governor again asked the central government to place the islands under the prefecture's jurisdiction and erect territorial markers. And in January 1895, a cabinet decision was made to incorporate the Senkaku Islands into Okinawa Prefecture. In summary, in 1885, Okinawa Prefecture surveyed the Senkaku Islands to enhance control over peripheral islands. Then, from around 1889, many fishermen ventured out to the Senkaku Islands, regardless of the danger, and the Japanese government decided to officially incorporate the islands into Okinawa Prefecture to exert control over fishermen's activities. In the process of the incorporation, the Japanese government confirmed that the Senkaku Islands were not under the control of any country, including the Qing dynasty of China. However, the Chinese government now claims Japan plotted to occupy the Senkaku Islands, which have been Chinese territories since before the modern era. It claims at the end of the First Sino-Japanese War, Japan secretly included the Senkaku Islands into its territory, and, Through the unequal Treaty of Shimonoseki, Japan forced Qing to cede to it the island of Taiwan, together with all islands appertaining or belonging to it, including the Senkaku Islands. However, as seen from what was explained above with respect to the incorporation of the Senkaku Islands into Japanese territory, this claim is completely unfounded. This 3-part series of videos explains how the Senkaku Islands were incorporated into Japanese territory and placed under the jurisdiction of Okinawa Prefecture. In Part 2, we will examine more closely the growing activities of fishermen around the Senkaku Islands, leading up to the Cabinet decision of 1895.